This is the AI Advantage podcast, where we explore how AI is shaping professional services. I'm Baker Nanduru, and today we have Lucas Hayden, VP of Product Marketing from Unanet. Welcome, Lucas.
Hey, Baker. Thanks so much for having me.
So maybe if you could give a quick overview of Unanet and your role.
So, Unanet provides an AI-first business platform to both government contractors and then the architecture and engineering and construction industries. And at the end of the day, we provide those businesses with real-time visibility, agentic intelligence, and embedded compliance, kind of everything that they need. These are project-based businesses. And so everything they need from pursuing new work all the way through the profitability of those projects.
Obviously, you're our partner. So when I saw that you're positioning as AI first ERP, what does the AI first mean?
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to the sort of pursuit to profit. So we've got very thoughtfully applied AI capabilities at every stage of the project lifecycle. So whether that's deciding which pursuits are going to be a good fit for your business, the projects you go after, to helping you build proposals using AI to generate drafts and things like that, all the way through running your projects and your accounting and all of your business analysis, all the kinds of questions that drive our businesses forward, both through assistive and agentic AI solutions to help in that way as well.
Very nice. I get this question a lot. Like AI has been there for a very long time, but I think the newer version of it has become more popular in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
When has AI started transforming your product and your product roadmap?
I mean, like you said, artificial intelligence in and of itself has been around for a long time. In the past 5 years, we've seen more things like OCR scanning, character recognition, kind of become, household names, at least in the software world, and we've leveraged that technology. And the thing that we've really been thinking about, in particularly over the past 36 months, is how to innovate with the new capabilities that are available to the market at large, but how to innovate in a thoughtful way. The way that I think about it is not all AI is created equal. And so as a business, we wanted to take a thoughtful approach about how we rolled out AI into our product ecosystem. And, Baker, there were really four things that drove that for us. And the first thing was for when we think about AI first, we think about unifying your data. And for our customers, our clients, we think about that across the project lifecycle because that's the business they're in. So we're really wanting to put out AI that's built for the business of projects in that way. And so it's got to unify your data, both your structured and your unstructured data. It's got to be able to deliver intelligence in a way that's in context for the work that our clients and their users are actually doing. It's got to be able to help them make good decisions and, importantly, take action. Because at the end of the day, when you're running a project, when you're doing your month-end close, when you're doing your strategic plans, it's that intelligence that's driving ultimately actions and thoughtful decisions. So that's the second thing. The third thing is a little bit more on the technology side, but we really want to transform the experience from what historically has been kind of a form-driven, task-oriented experience to a much more personalized, outcome-driven, conversational user experience. And then I think kind of like the red thread through all of this is empowering our users, rethinking or reimagining how certain jobs get done across a GovCon or an AEC business, and using AI in specific targeted ways to help do that. So that's kind of a little bit of our paradigm as we've really leaned into providing a more AI first solution to our customers.
No, that's great. The beauty of a ERP or a CRM is you have a lot of data that you can harness. and obviously you can bring a lot more value to the to your customers. Maybe if we take one step back, like you recently launched Champ AI, Proposal AI, and a whole bunch of innovations that are coming up. For an AEC firm that hasn't touched AI yet, and you have like several hundreds of them as your customers, where should they start and why? And how is it really going to help them do a better job or drive more revenue or improve cost savings or efficiency? Take us through that, the benefit part of it, and then we'll work backwards on how the technology is built.
Actually, I love how you frame that question because look, we've been working with firms from a structured data perspective for 25 plus years. Like you mentioned, we've got like nearly 2,000 customers in the AEC space. And so we've really worked hard to be that system, that trusted system of record for decades now. And going back to what I was saying about the idea of generic AI versus purposely built AI, that structured data foundation really matters. It's interesting. I do an industry report every year called the AC Inspire Report.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we saw pretty early in the data this year was that AI use is actually way up in the industry. It's up from say 50-ish% up into the 70s from a percentage perspective. But the confidence in data is not
It's
really
gone
any
down.
better
Yeah.
across the industry. And going to your question of if I'm an AEC firm, I've not really entered the AI sphere at all, where do I start? You really have to start at that foundational level of is our data stored, maintained in a structured, trustworthy environment? So, where do firms start? They've got to start with their data. When you think about the spectrum of unstructured to structured data, in the most unstructured sense, you've got things like everybody has their own Excel document, things are in Word, there's no organized system of record in that way.
Hmm.
And of course, on the other side of that spectrum, you've got very structured data, whether that be ERP, CRM, even some of the ways that you guys structure client experience data and things like
Hmm.
that. Is that on a continuum, if you think about it that way, number one, you want to make sure that your data is well structured such that AI or no AI, you can report off of it in a holistic way in real time and trust it for your decision making. To me, that's probably like the bar.
It's a foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the foundation. And then from there, what's exciting about, to me at least, about AI is it's really at a stage where it can meet a firm wherever they're at. I did a panel at a conference a couple weeks ago, and let's see, the panel members, there was a president of a firm, an IT director of a firm, and an operations leader of a
Mhm.
different firm. And they all had different kind of expectations and tolerances when it comes to the use of AI. And just thinking through their examples, like it was everything from we try to solve almost any problem with some kind of AI technology to we just turned on Microsoft Copilot a
Copilot.
week
Yeah.
ago
Yeah.
or what have you. And then also using AI for tracking field equipment and maintenance schedules and things like that. The good thing about, I would say, the AI industry right now is that whatever stage you're at, there are solutions out there to help you accomplish the task. And for Unanet, we think about that in terms, as I mentioned before, in terms of the project lifecycle. And so our
Hmm.
focus is really targeted to solving kind of unique challenges along that scope of the project.
Awesome. And maybe we can just double click on the life cycle of a project and see through the lens of who is using those capabilities or features or functionality, right? So
Yep.
if you were like a marketer or a business development person at a AEC firm, we deal with a whole bunch of them. They're typically our customers. They're the ones who run CX programs. They also create a whole bunch of proposals, and it's very hard to create proposals, and it's very time consuming. But you have to do like hundreds and thousands of them, depending on how many projects you want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
There is whole lot of innovation happening in that space. Maybe you can tell how it was before and now in this new world where AI can help, and you have a solution around it too. How is it really improving the overall experience and the and effectiveness and efficiency of proposals?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're okay, we can kind of take it one step at a time right through the
Sure.
life cycle.
Yeah, sure.
When you think about the project life cycle in kind of three quadrants, one is that find and win
Hmm.
quadrant, the second one being manage and deliver your projects, and
Hmm.
then the third kind of being like all that financial and project accounting and analysis, firm strategic growth and things like that,
Yeah.
the more kind of business back office elements. So in the find and win space, think about it. We've got like a pipeline of relationships that we're managing. We have a pipeline of pursuits that we're chasing, pursuing. And then, like you mentioned, there's the volume of proposals that follow all that. And so, how is AI impacting those three areas? First of all, with relationships, and this is one of those things that has been around for a long time. Things like the OCR scanning, think of your classic business card scanner,
Mhm.
what have you. But in addition to that, being able to leverage AI to dedupe your contacts, to pull in current data on phone numbers, emails, job changes, all that kind of thing from LinkedIn and what have you, or from your Outlook email, all of that being just
Keep
lifted
it
off of
accurate. Yeah,
yeah,
accurate.
keeping it
Yeah.
accurate. Yeah,
People
kind of
don't want
the
to do that stuff. It's extremely hard. And keeping the
oh,
data clean in CRMs, or it's very time consuming and people hate it, right? We all hate doing it, but it's very important,
it is.
especially in that phase of the life cycle.
Yeah, so in that way, it's like the Rolodex of the future or whatever. So with pursuits, Unanet specifically, what we actually, to be honest with you, we met with our customers and they helped us identify that kind of pre go no go decision of we have this lead, we think it can materialize based on the work that we're doing, our strategic plans, where we win, where we don't,
Is it
who
a
we
good
compete
fit?
with. Is this going to be a fit?
Yeah.
And so that was a targeted use case for us. And so, yeah, never having to make a pursuit decision or assign resources to working on an opportunity without having a full picture of kind of what you're walking into and whether or not it's going to be worth pursuing. I think one of the things behind that, at least from my perspective, is over the years, I've always worked with firms on what's your total cost of ownership on the project. And that starts in the opportunity phase. We tend to lose the hidden cost of the project a lot of times.
Now,
But anyway,
what I'm hearing you say is now, if I were a biz dev person at a engineering firm, if I get a request for a project proposal, then I could lean in on your proposal piece of software, and then it'll tell me, hey, look, here is a score on some kind of a scale. Is it a good fit or a bad fit? If it is a fit, what does the ROI might look like, and cost might look like, and benefit might look like, and what is a chance to win? There is a whole bunch that can we execute given the capacity we have inside the company. So there is a whole bunch of things that
yes,
it can analyze because it has all the data in ERP and CRM. It can
exactly.
basically say, look, I think this one is good. Here is how I would position this. If it is not a fit, why it is not a fit, without you trying to spend maybe sometimes 3 4 weeks to figure this thing out, one project at a time.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that workflow for a lot of firms, that's Slack or Teams messages, it's emails, it's phone
Yeah.
calls, it's huddles, and the whole thing. And that's
Mhm.
just to get to the information you need to make the decision. The opportunity that AI provides, like you said, is like, and this goes back to the structured data thing. When you've got the structured, clean data, it can gather all that information in a moment.
We all use a version of Cloud or OpenAI,
Right.
and with all the connectors it is, if you have some sort of an MCP or a connector, you just hook it up. And obviously you have a software that actually does it where you don't have to go anywhere. It just does it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Can we go to the second part? Finish the life cycle, the second and the third, and how AI is adding value to the users of those phases. The second phase you said is mostly project delivery. So this is the project managers now, right? And all the stakeholders involved in the project who are actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Like how are they benefiting from the AI capabilities?
Yeah. So I'll bridge with the proposal generation
Hmm.
because once you decide to go after the project, then it's the real work of building the proposal. And for a project manager, especially a seller doer, that's where they're pulled off live jobs to go
Yeah.
in and track down information, work with marketing. And so there's lots of different proposal generation tools out there. What makes Unanet unique is that it's built on that 25 years of trusted pursuit and past proposal, past project information. So we see the project value in the proposal creation process from
Yeah.
that perspective. But then to your point, as you get into managing the project, when I put myself in the seat of a project leader, whether that be a project manager, principal overseeing a line of business, or even someone in like project controls, project accounting, there's probably maybe two main questions I want to know at any given time. And that is, how is my project performing? And what's actually happening on my
Hmm.
project?
Hmm.
And one of the great opportunities, particularly through the lens of an ERP system that you're using for time tracking and billing and project management, resource planning, things like that, is you've got the foundational data you need to answer those questions in a really cool way with AI. So, for instance, and I mean, we're all familiar, or many of us are familiar with this kind of scenario where you can now just use natural language to ask the question.
Question.
So, I'm working on the $1 million bridge project. How's the project performing right now?
Yeah.
And the
How's it
AI is
going?
able, yeah, how's it going? And you're able
Yeah.
to get within a matter of seconds or a minute or two a very clear and accurate picture of the financial performance of the project. And as far as getting information and reporting goes, that alone is great just to get
Yeah.
it in that way and with that speed. But what kind of takes it a step further is, as that project leader, I can then dig in and ask a different kind of question. Things like, where am I exposed to risk on this project?
Yeah.
And the AI can do a historical analysis of your past projects that look like this project or are with this client and compare that to how the current project's performing, and then do the analysis
Comparison.
to spot the areas of risks, spot the areas of opportunity, and then bring that back to me as a project leader to then make better decisions about the project. And
I think
Victor,
this
I get
is
really
where
excited about
our
this.
data, like getting feedback data into that and overlaying that, I think there is so much power in having the transactional data to what the relationship data overlay says, because
Yeah.
we sometimes like at different milestones and we get feedback, and sometimes people are like, hey, I don't like this, and it's nothing to do with the project, it's something to do with completely outside of the project.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and it has an impact on the project delivery or profitability or schedule or all those factors. And so it is because we talk to similar stakeholders like you, and our primary
Yeah.
stakeholders are project managers, right? Because they're the
Yeah.
ones who are mostly capturing feedback across the journey of the project.
Yeah.
And there is a true unlock. Obviously, with the data that you have, you guys do a lot, but if that overlays with the feedback that people are giving across the journey,
Yeah.
there is so much treasure there that really helps projects to be like profitability. You can really drive a lot of profitability, but most importantly, I think the quality and the satisfaction, I think both of them can be met. Yeah, I get excited whenever I hear people say, hey, we improved on quality, or we improved our profitability, or we improved our experience overall, which
Well,
is exactly what we both are trying to do.
yeah, and you mentioned client experience and the feedback, and you're exactly right, by the way. Like, so much of it is just in the soft side of the project as
Yeah.
much as it is in the hard side. But the thing that's cool as we go forward and new capabilities emerge is here and use is it's like going from assisted driving to full self-driving, sitting in the back seat.
Mhm.
And think about a project leader, and you can offload that, like, how's my project doing, what's my feedback, and you can let the system ingest that and analyze it and then notify you when there's a problem. If there's no problem, then great. And if something comes up, you can get pinged. And so that more agentic nature where it can like really pull in an ecosystem across, like you said, ERP, client feedback, even things like Outlook or text messages and that
Sure.
kind of
Yeah.
thing, are
Yeah.
really get a good picture. I feel like we're on the cusp of something really cool, especially in the AEC space from a project perspective.
Yeah, we are already working on certain things where, because for us, it's all about the human connection and the sentiment, right? So we're
Yes.
constantly looking at, look, we get sentiment from the feedback we receive, but we also know that there is a lot of sentiment that we can get from the interactions that are in email and SMS and whatnot, right? There are many instances where we actually learn just from our client interactions. One of our
Yes.
clients, if I take a detour just for a second,
Yep.
they were great. The feedback was great, but there was some sentiment that in the email exchanges that we didn't catch.
Yeah.
That actually we didn't find it either. All our feedback surveys were great, but then we found that we got one nasty gram in late December saying, "Hey, look, something is not working." And so it's there actually. If you look at the emails, that sentiment was brewing in the emails, but it's not there in the feedback yet.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is a customer we deeply care. And then we obviously did the right thing to address the issue. And then actually the sentiment actually improved in all the communications that we've had. And then we did that analysis and we found we should have caught this like way before we came up in December, because we had
Yeah.
signals like in September that something was happening which we didn't catch. So
Yeah.
it is very important. I think going back to, you said something that you didn't emphasize enough, but I think I just want to put it in bold italic. Like in the end, data is the foundation for all of this, and which is what most of the ERPs are foundational data sets. Obviously, we have some data sets, and there is emails and all the other data sets. So collecting, putting that data, and then putting a level of intelligence which AI can bring to the masses is where the real unlocking happens.
Yep.
Beyond just unlocking, we can do on the small data sets we all have. Obviously, ERP is a huge data set.
Yep.
And companies like you, because you have so much of data set and pretty much the business lifeblood is in your systems, there is so much value that your customers can just benefit from it just because you have it. A newbie who doesn't have any of this data can talk about AI, but really they can't do anything because all you own all the data in your
Sure.
system. So I think there is a foundational capability and an advantage that firms like yours have. Obviously, we have our own data sets, but like I think it amplifies when you mix the data sets together.
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. The same thing goes for clearly rated. And when, to me, this is where, well, one of the key differences between a generic LLM, fill in the blank with the household name, is it's a different proposition, because whether it be with a client feedback tool or an ERP or what have you, if if I'm going to build a solution, say my own solution with a generic LLM, first of all, I can't see my data without me setting it up to do so. It lacks context until I give it the context, and the onus is on me, say, to train it on my business data. Whereas like the solution you described or some of the things that we're doing here at Unanet, we're training them on that business data
Yeah.
out of the gate. And one of the things that you said a minute ago sparked my interest. You used the word a couple of times. It was sentiment.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important because, like in my world, on the Champ platform, just as an example, like you can go in and you can do research on, say, your OpenAR, and this is that
The
uh,
third part. Yeah.
third slice, if you will, financial and things like that. So if I'm doing analysis, we'll just use OpenAR as an example. Not only do I have the billing and receivable data, but I can also pull in email exchanges and things like
Mhm.
that. And to your
Hmm.
point, what are the signals? What are the sentiments that are
Hmm.
potentially driving this balance that's now moving into 46,
Yeah.
47, or 75 days or what have you? And the thing I love about the idea of sentiment in the AI's ability to help identify it is that in a sense, it's like using AI to bring out the best in us as people. Because if we can say, hey, I'm seeing this performance issue, but now I also have this like sentiment context,
Hmm.
then I can really address what's actually happening and I
That's
can
right.
provide a better client experience. And the reason that's interesting, and actually, this is a good parallel with you guys too, is this year in the AEC and the Inspire report, we started tracking client expectation. And from last year to this year, client expectations on our clients is increasing.
Mhm.
And they're also reporting that, well, yeah, it's increasing, but we're rising to meet those challenges. And I think clearly rate is a big part of that. But as we can leverage this technology to like marry the data with the personal, it really
Mhm.
does, we're better for it in that way.
Absolutely, yeah. There are a whole bunch of things that we find in feedback, and there is one example Ryan Sudam uses
Yeah.
often. Nobody thinks invoicing is an issue of relationships, but they do. And yeah, they do. And like there were many times people think we're doing a great job of building this bridge. We're engaging the stakeholders, we're doing it on time, we're doing it on budget. But then still the client is unhappy, or a bunch of stakeholders are unhappy because there is some invoicing issue somewhere that nobody knows about, and they don't want to talk to you or tell you, but they're unhappy because so now those things surface up in feedback saying, hey, that invoice you didn't get paid on time or whatever that thing might be.
Yeah.
And all sometimes we just need to know is, hey, look, that's what they're saying. Now let's figure out how to fix it, and it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
there is so many unexplored areas where firms and relationship managers can jump in and act on them quickly that will have a tremendous positive impact on the overall project outcomes, which is great for the business, great for the people involved. And obviously, this is not hard to do with all the technology we have now. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's people get upset for different reasons. Sometimes we just don't know them until we ask, right?
Yeah, no, and Ryan is spot on with what he's saying. And to me, the key becomes how quickly can we
Act on.
identify where the business relationship is being strained so we can address it? Because at the end of the day, I mean, whether it be personal or professional contexts, we want to do business with people that are easy to do business with. And yeah, there's so much opportunity for that.
Awesome. I'm going to switch topics now. I want to talk about the human side of the changes that AI is bringing. All the firms that and the customers we talk to, they're excited about AI. They're using in some shape or form, like your report mentioned. But there is also this fear and skepticism that, hey, AI is going to come. What happens to my job? For example, let's say you're a marketer and a biz dev person, and you spend a lot of time figuring out if this project is the right fit or not and creating proposals. But if now one person can create 100 of them in a week, then what happens to those people, those bandwidth? And so there is just everything. AI conversation has an alternate conversation like, how does it impact me? How does it impact my job? Am I the next one losing my job? And especially with all the narrative that is out there, right? Oracle laid off like 40,000 people a couple of
Yeah.
days ago, and there is that just negative narrative that is out there. So how are you as a representative of Unanet that is championing this capabilities with the customers? How do you reassure them of the benefits? Maybe you can give us the examples of how you do it, because it is something that I hear a lot, and so I want at least our audience to feel a little bit more assured that there is a lot more positive thing than the negative thing here in the market.
Yeah. And, I think that the AEC market is or has a unique place in this conversation because it is so relational. All these businesses are built and exist on those relationships. And so honestly, it's been something I've been curious about and tracking along with over the past couple of years. I lean on what the market is like literally telling us. And I'll just walk you through a part of the Inspire data that I've got that
Sure.
I think is interesting from a sentiment perspective. So we ask about the potential workplace effects within the AEC space. And the options or the things that I'm interested in is, are you looking for AI to improve efficiency? Is this an efficiency play? Is it an effectiveness play, which is obviously a little bit different than efficiency, being effective? Will AI allow for like employee reallocation such that responsibilities could shift in different ways? Could AI potentially improve just the workplace experience for employees? So the tools that I'm using to do my job are easier to use because of AI, and therefore it's a better workplace environment. And then obviously we do ask point blank, are you looking at AI as a way or as an allowance for reduction in headcount? Just to put it out there. And the results that we get this year, this is based on about 300 respondents. The number one thing is to improve employee efficiency.
Nice.
And that makes perfect sense. Labor driven industry, the more efficient we can be, the more profitability we can maintain or secure. Makes perfect sense. The second, I'll do top three and then I'll do the bottom one.
Mhm.
So, second, 64% of people said that they're looking for AI to improve employee effectiveness. So, taking their existing employees and amplifying their effectiveness, which I think is great.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, how can we all
Yeah.
be better at what we do? So that's number two. Third thing was kind of like, how do we lead? Can we lead people into their strengths? Kind of that reallocation of responsibility. That was 41%, so a pretty distant third. And then the bottom response was reduction in employee headcount. Only
Wow.
13% noted that as kind of a potential effect of AI. And so far and away, 71% reported that efficiency, 64% not far behind with effectiveness. So broad stroke is by and large, and this is great news to me personally, just because I care about the industry, is that far and away, people are really looking to become better at their work, push the craft forward, do work more efficiently, just to support the overall health of the industry. So, what the next question becomes, what do you do with that? And from my perspective, this really goes right back to Unanet's core strategy with AI, which is empowering our end users to do those things, to do the jobs that they're trying to do um,
Better.
faster and better with less friction.
I'm glad you did this research and it is very clear. Unlike some of the technology companies where they're very pretty straightforward. They're like, we're not going to invest, we'll need fewer people, we'll reduce headcount, most of them because they don't need as many developers, so to speak. But
Yep.
what people think is the whole world is like technology companies, and but the world has so many verticals, so many different types of businesses. Not everybody is the same. And what if they hear that, hey, through the lens of AEC, these architecture firms, engineering firms, and the construction firms, there is still shortage of labor, and there
Oh
is a
yeah.
need to make them more effective in their jobs. And there
Yes.
is a lot more upside of using this technology and little to no downside of using this technology at this stage. So there is actually a tremendous positive outcome that AI can bring with by using providers like you and
Yep.
us, or just using at a individual level inside the firm, right? I think
Absolutely.
this message gets lost in the day-to-day public news that we hear, like it's a doomsday scenario. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're able to articulate that.
Yeah. Oh, I just was going to say one more quick anecdote on that
Yeah,
is you mentioned like the hiring gap and some of the things that you hear out in the public discourse. Most people I talk to, like their college recruitment program, their kind of entry level programs, like are still like firing on all cylinders right
all
now.
cylinders, right?
Yeah, so it's just different
Different
environment.
dynamic, yeah.
Yeah,
I
dynamic.
think there is two worlds that are happening. I think there is one side of the world where if you're a software engineer, maybe you don't find your entry level jobs like as many as you did in the past.
Mm.
or at least there is a perception that there are not enough of those jobs. And then there is the other one where you need more accountants, you need more engineers, you need more architects. And
Yes.
that they've always, even lawyers to some extent, like there is always a shortage of resources in these industries and verticals. And it's been a struggle for the last several years now, right? Because of all these demographics and other bigger trends happening. So this is actually an opportunity to bring more because it is needed and also make them better with more tools. I think I have some family who is actually getting undergrad in architecture. So I'm looking forward to her
Cool.
joining a firm and
Yeah.
having a great career there. But it's not true with every other major that kids in college are going through. So, two questions before we wrap up. One is, can you talk about, look, we will all be proficient in AI and use AI through all the softwares that the providers that we use. Like your customers are going to use a lot of AI through what Unanet offers and Microsoft offers and what we offer and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, but then there is a broader market narrative that professional services, hey, it's all technical skills, but then AI is going to commoditize this technical skill.
Mm.
And so what is your take on that? And the second part is, we know that relationships are the core of professional services. And then how does this relationships change in the age of AI? Maybe you can touch on both.
Sure. That brings me back to a conversation I had at a conference in the fall. I was talking with a president of an architecture firm. And, what we talked about was essentially AI is making it easy for their business to provide better service to their clients. And so when you think about things like commoditization, it, there was no kind of like replacement, thread in what he was reflecting to me. It was more about we still own the craft. The AI is able to help us magnify it. And I'll just give you kind of the example we talked about was they were doing some design work, I think in retail or something like that. And most clients, they'll want to see a half dozen different designs. And maybe that's an understatement, but they want to see a number of design
Yeah.
options and be able to get the look and feel of it. And whereas before that might be X amount of time to design each one of those instances, but now they're able to leverage AI technology. Yes, they still do the design work for some of them, but then the AI can help reproduce and create optionality for the client in a much faster way. So in that sense, it goes back to that effectiveness and efficiency piece. They're able to provide a better client experience through the leveraging of the AI tool, not as a replacement for the expertise in
Yes.
that way. So yeah, that's one thing that comes to mind. The other thing that comes to mind, this was a construction conversation, ops leader for a construction company, and they were using, I referenced this at the beginning of the call, but they were using oh yeah, they were talking about field reporting. And the problem they were solving, or the use case they were solving, was how can we capture field information and route it back to the seller doers, to the business developers in a way that they can continually leverage it for their pipeline and things like that. And so, again, not a commoditization, but an enhancement of communication for their business where the field could echo back sentiment very quickly to people in active conversations from like a seller motion with a lot of more clarity without miscommunication or playing telephone, and you can get it in real time. So to your point with client feedback tool and things like that, real time client sentiment that you can then leverage in your active conversation. So yeah, so I guess to go back to your question, I don't see it playing out in the conversations that I've been having, and which again is great. I just see it really increasing the way that our clients can provide their clients with
Mhm.
better services and work better together also, which I think is really important. So it's
Awesome.
funny because it's all really human outcomes, which is
Can
important.
you touch what you're saying is AI is not going to build bridge designs anytime soon or airport designs anytime soon?
Well,
Um, yeah, yeah, well, exactly. I hope not. And can you touch on the relationships, because they have been foundational for a long time and they will continue to be. Like, do you see any change in the way relationships have to be managed with clients, other stakeholders?
I think there are some things that will not change, and then there's some things that maybe will change. I think what will not change is a primacy of the personal relationship. Nothing beats this conversation with people. And so I don't think that will change. And particularly for AEC, I think that's like a bellwether of that sentiment as an industry. I think the things that will change or can change are some of the things that you referenced earlier about like sentiment and picking up on signals that we maybe just are not reading. And whether the signal is 100% accurate all the time, if I'm able to use AI and it's able to pick up that, hey, Baker might not have liked how you said this or something like that. Like
Hmm.
if I can get better, if I can be better in my relationships because of the application of AI, then I feel like it supports our relationships and doesn't detract from them in that way.
That's right. Yeah.
To me, like I guess my cautionary tale in all of this is capabilities exist that you could not respond to any email, like it can do it for you. I mean, that's extreme, I guess, but that's where we're at in
Hmm.
some ways. And so I do think like the onus does remain on
Us.
people to AI responsibly
Yeah,
in that way.
absolutely. I think the like we are entering a world where it is a hybrid work environment where we have people and we have some agents doing some work in
Sure.
different capacities of some sort.
Yeah.
But still, I think the foundation of human relationships still has to be managed by humans, not by AI. All it takes is two, three lawsuits of agents screwing up something with people that has an adverse effect of things, which it will inevitably do. So I think that, yeah, like you're spot on. Like, I think there is so much power that we can enhance the relationships that we can tap into. But the bottom line is it still has to be controlled by people, because you cannot trust the foundation of how professional services firms or business is conducted to an
Yeah.
agent that you cannot, it's not predictable and you cannot completely control, and
Yep.
can hallucinate quite a bit no matter how much you think how good it is, right? So
Yeah.
these are the things that you cannot trust that you're going to get the desired outcome consistently. So that means human has to be in the loop, which means we still have to keep nourishing those relationships. This is great. One last question. If I'm a managing partner of a 200-person engineering firm and listening to this, what is the one thing they should do this quarter to start getting value from AI?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
And let's say they're your customer too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe make
Well,
it
even
easier.
better. No, I think that's great. That makes it easier to answer. No, I think it depends on where you are in your maturity, but I would say start where you are. And if you're a Unanet customer, we're here for where you are. So whether if that is taking your first foray into leveraging AI solutions at all, I think that's a great step to take. If that is doing a kind of an analysis of the state of your data, we talked about the unstructured, structured data. I think if you've not done anything yet with AI, your first step this quarter is to get a small task force together within your business to, even at the highest level, take a survey of your data landscape. What's structured? What's unstructured? How, and then start to think about how can we leverage AI to move the needle in this quarter given our landscape. And this kind of brings me back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the call, which is when you start walking into that AI solution arena, I think companies like clearly rated companies like Unanet that are building AI solutions that's built for this industry, I think is really important because when you think about architecture, engineering, construction, it's really the project that's like the heartbeat of this industry. So you want to use AI that's been built for the business of projects. And I think obviously as a Unanet customer, but certainly as a clearly rated customer, like that's what we're here to do, is to walk with these firms in that journey.
Yeah, awesome. Great advice. Lucas, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. And good luck with your upcoming events. And I'm looking forward to talking with you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Baker. Really appreciate it. You as well.